morning, my friends. Miss Rachel here, and today we are reading a great book, and the title is Ada Twist Scientist. Now, looking at the cover, it might look a little bit familiar. You might remember that when we were in the classroom, we read a great story that you all loved called Iggy Peck Architect. Well, this book looks familiar because the same author made and wrote the book Iggy Peck Architect. This book, Ada Twist Scientist, is by Andrea Beaty. She's the same author who wrote the story Iggy Peck Architect. And the illustrator, the person who drew the pictures, is also the same. The illustrator is David Roberts. So today we're going to read Ada Twist Scientist. It's about a little girl named Ada, and we're going to find out a lot about her. Ada Twist Scientist. Let's see. Ada Marie, said not a word till the day she turned 3. She bounced in her crib and looked all around, observing the world, not making a sound. Observing, that means looking. So Ada Marie is this little girl. She didn't make a sound until the day she turned 3, but she looked, she observed. She learned how to climb and made her big break with a trail of chaos left in her wake. She ran through the day, chasing each sound and sight, and didn't slow down till she conked out at night. Conked out, that means to fall asleep. Her parents were frazzled, but tried not to freak, as Ada grew bigger and still did not speak. Clearly, young Ada, with lots in her head, would have something to say when it ought to be said. That's just what happened. When Ada turned 3, she tore through the house on a fact-finding spree and climbed up the clock just as high as she could. Her parents yelled, "Stop!" This word says, "Stop!" as all good parents would. Ada's chin quivered, but she did not cry. She took a deep breath and simply asked, "Why?" Why does it tick and why does it talk? Why don't we call it a grandfather clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? Why are there hairs inside of your nose? Ada has lots of questions. She wants to know the answer to lots of things. She started with why and then what, how, and when. By bedtime, she came back to why once again. She drifted to sleep as her dazed parents smiled at the curious thoughts of their curious child, who wanted to know what the world was about. They kissed her and whispered, "You'll figure it out." So Ada is a very curious child. She has lots of questions about the world and the way things work. Her parents kept up with their high-flying kid. Why, what, how, when, why? Whose questions and chaos both grew as she did. Look at all these questions she's asking. I see maybe her big brother and her mommy and her daddy, and she's asking them all of these different questions. What does it do? What is it for? Will it be the same? What if? Why? She has lots of good questions. Even Miss Greer, I think Miss Greer's her teacher. Do you remember Miss Greer? She's the same teacher from Iggy Peck Architect. Even Miss Greer found her hands were quite full when young Ada's chaos wreaked havoc at school. But this much was clear about Miss Ada Twist. She had all the traits of a great scientist. Traits of a great scientist. What are some things that make Ada a great scientist? I would say that Ada asks lots of great questions. And as we know, all scientists ask really great questions like who, what, where, when, why, and how. And look, she's experimenting with bottles. Ada was busy that first day of spring, testing the sounds that make mockingbirds sing. When a horrible stench, a stench is a smell, when a horrible stench whacked her right in the nose, a pungent aroma that curled up her toes. "Zowie," said Ada, which got her to thinking, "what is the source of that terrible stinking? How does a nose know there's something to smell? And does it still stink if there's no nose to tell?" She rattled off questions and tapped on her chin. She'd start at the start where she ought to begin. A mastery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. This was the moment that Ada loved best. Look at Ada. What does it look like she's doing? Ada did research to learn all she could. Research. That means asking questions and finding some answers. You can read books, you can do experiments. So she's researching to learn all she could of smelling and smells, both the stinky and the good. One hypothesis, that's a guess. That's a big word. Hypothesis. That means a guess. So one hypothesis Ada thought could be true. The terrible stink came from Dad's cabbage stew. She tested and tested, but soon Ada knew it was time to come up with hypothesis 2. Then, zowie! The stink struck again just like that. Hypothesis 2? It's caused by the cat. The cat couldn't make such a stink on its own. It needed perfume and some fancy cologne. So young Ada tested. The test was a flop. She started again, but her parents yelled, "Stop! Stop!" She was about to put her cat in the laundry machine because he was stinky. Ada Marie, Ada Marie. Do her parents look happy? Does Ada look happy? Uh-oh. "Ada Marie, Ada Marie, to the thinking chair now by the time we count 3. "Enough," said her mother. "That's it," said her dad. Her parents were frustrated, frazzled, and mad. "Why?" Ada questioned. Her mother said, "No." "What?" Ada quivered. Her father said, "Go. You've ruined our supper. You've made the cat stink. Enough with your questions. Now sit there and think." She looked at her parents. Her heart turned to goo. Poor Ada Twist didn't know what to do. So Ada got in trouble. Her parents told her to go sit in the thinking chair and think. She sat all alone by herself in the hall, and Ada once more could say nothing at all. And so Ada sat. She sat and she sat and she thought about science and stew and the cat and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is that part of success? Are messes a problem? And while she was thinking, what was the source of that terrible stinking? Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question, and then she asked 2. And each of those led her to 3 questions more, and some of those questions resulted in 4. As Ada got thinking, she really dug in. She scribbled her questions and tapped on her chin. She started at why and then what and how and when. At the end of the hall, she reached why once again. So Ada is still asking questions and doing some big thinking. She wants to know where the smell is coming from. Her parents calmed down and they came back to talk. They looked at the hallway and just had to gawk. Gawk. That means stare. So they gawked. Can everybody stare just like me? Yeah, her parents are gawking. See, they're looking, they're staring. No patch of bare paint could be seen on the wall. The thinking chair now was the great thinking hall. They watched their young daughter and sighed as they did. Sighed. That's a sigh, to take a big, deep breath. What would they do with this curious kid who wanted to know what the world was about? They smiled and whispered, "We'll figure it out." So Ada is a very curious child who has lots of questions and wants to find the answers. And that's what they did, because that's what you do when your kid has a passion and heart that is true. They remade their world. Now they're all in the act of helping young Ada sort fiction from fact. She asks lots of questions. How could she resist? It's all in the heart of a young scientist. So now her whole family is helping her look for the answers. They're supporting her. They're helping her. And as for that smell, what can Ada Twist do but learn all she can with her friends in grade 2? Will they discover that stink that curls her toes? Well, that is the question, and someday, who knows? So look, she's experimenting and researching and doing a science project with her friends in 2nd grade. She's very curious, and her friends are going to help her. And hopefully one day they'll discover where that stinky smell is coming from. The end. Great job, my friends. Thank you so much for reading Ada Twist Scientist with me. I love this story. I hope you did too. I hope you have a great day. I miss you and I love you, and I'm sending you so much positive energy. Mwah! I'll talk to you soon.